Hi everyone, my name is Riska Halim. So now I'm going to talk about the formalist stylistic analysis. So formalism may be defined as a critical approach in which the text under discussion is considered primarily as a structure of words. That is, the main focus is on the arrangement of language rather than on the implication of the words or on the biographical and historical relevance of the work in question. However, formalism, or the concept of strict literary formalism, has often been attacked by individual literary critics or schools of criticism on the grounds that it reduces the text to nothing more than a series of words, thereby limiting its meaning and power. So now I'm gonna analyze the formalist stylistic analysis of short story God Sees the Truth But Waits by Leo Tolstoy. Leo Tolstoy was born in September 9, 1828. He was a Russian author, a master of realistic fiction, and one of the greatest novelists. Tolstoy is best known for his two longest works, War and Peace and Anna Karenina, which are commonly regarded as among the finest novels ever written. In short story God Sees the Truth But Waits, there are major themes and minor themes as follows. The first is major theme. After analysis, it can be concluded that the major theme in the story of God Sees the Truth But Waits is the fortitude of someone who has spent 26 years in prison for a crime he didn't commit. In this God Sees the Truth But Waits story, there are a number of minor themes, which are a person's belief in God, so that ultimately brings justice to him, someone who is able to forgive those who commit crimes against him, patience in accepting the trials that afflict his life, and a guilty sinner who has put an innocent person into prison. The plot analysis in the short story written by Leo Tolstoy is a mixed plot, where the story starts from the middle when Aksionov is married. The story goes forward, and several times a flashback tells a background of the short story. The first is setting of place. In the town of Vladimir lived a young merchant named Ivan Dmitri Aksionov. He had two shops and a house of his own. Vladimir City is a city where Aksionov and his family lived in the area. For 26 years, Aksionov lived as a convict in Siberia. When he had traveled halfway, he met a merchant whom he knew, and they put up at the same inn for the night. He read this book when there was light enough in the prison, and on Sundays, in the prison church, he read the lessons and sang in the choir, for his voice was still good. The second is setting of time. One summer, Aksionov was going to the Nizhny fair. It wasn't Aksionov's habit to sleep late and wishing to travel while it was still cool. He wrote his driver before dawn and told him to put in the horses. Although the setting of time wasn't mentioned directly, but it can be seen in the narrative that Aksionov wasn't accustomed to sleeping late and is clarified by the priest. The temperature is still cold. We can conclude the incident happened at night. This morning, the merchant was found in the bed with his throat cut. This incident occurred when detective and two police officers searched and checked Aksionov's luggage. The first is Aksionov, a handsome man with yellowish and slightly wavy hair, but after 20 years, all his hair had turned white as snow, and his beard had grown long, thin, and gray. Now his body bent. He walked slowly, talking only a little, humorous, and very like to sing. The second is Aksionov's wife. In this story, the wife of Aksionov has a kind-hearted, caring, and desperate nature when her husband is thrown in jail. The last is Makar Semyonik. He has a tall and stocky body, in his 60s, and a gray beard, unyielding, evil, but when he felt Aksionov's kindness, his heart began to be moved to admit his mistakes. In the short story, God Sees the Truth But Waits, this is the point of view of the omniscient point of view. In this point of view, the story is told from the point of view of he, where the narrator can know everything and is omniscient. The first is verbal irony. When Semyonik said, "What sins did Aksionov do?" Aksionov only said, "I deserve this punishment." "What sins?" asked Semyonik. Aksionov only said, "Well, I must have deserved it." In reality, he wasn't worthy of the punishment because Aksionov was only slandered and didn't commit a crime. The second is the irony of the situation. In this story, when Semyonix plots admit his mistake, and finally Aksionov is free from punishment, after that Aksionov died. I think when Aksionov is free and gets out of prison, he will go home to Vladimir and meet his wife and children, and they will live happily to make up for the misery that Aksionov felt for 26 years and be replaced by a family happiness and see his children married and have grandchildren. The last is dramatic irony. In the story God sees the truth but waits, the reader has learned that Aksionov is someone who has already served punishment for crimes committed by Semyonix. The fact is that Semyonix doesn't know that Aksionov is the owner of a bag which there is a knife used by Semyonix for his crimes, thus asking Aksionov to be in prison for 26 years. Symbols in the short story. Every literary work uses symbols that have their own meanings. Symbols in literary works are expressed in the distinctive form, as in a short story God sees the truth but waits, works of Tolstoy. There are several symbols that must be interpreted by the reader, with which the reader can capture the contents of the message to be conveyed by the writer to the reader. Aksionov's character symbolizes obstinacy, patience, and forgiveness. Semyonix figure symbolizes courage, crime, irresponsibility, and fragility. How is there is blood on this knife? The sentence illustrates when the police found evidence that showed the discovery of things that were signs of evil deeds. He's not a thief until he's caught. The saying meaningful will be difficult to prove what happens when the evidence is in the bag that we have. His hair turned white as snow, and his beard grew long, thin, and gray. All his mirth when he stopped. He walked slowly, spoke little, and never laughed, but he often prayed. In this sentence, the writer describes that Aksionov has aged after serving a sentence in prison he never did. Suddenly, Marker Semyonix crept out from under the shelf and looked up at Aksionov with a bright face. Indicates an inmate who is trying to make a way to escape, but he is afraid someone already knows. Marker Semyonix then knelt on the floor, described that his apology to Aksionov was serious and he regretted what he had done. So that's all about the explanation about formalist stylistic analysis. Thank you for watching. Bye!